An appeals court struck down a federal rule that kept law-abiding Americans between the ages of 18 and 21 from buying guns. This ruling applies to states within the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas.
So 21 was always fascinating to me when I was a kid. Like 16, obviously, at least when I was a teenager, that's when you got your driver's license. You at 18, you had to go register for the draft, but 21 was when you could go legally buy alcohol and go legally buy a handgun. And as fascinating as it was to me, it never made sense.
Yeah, and again, different perspectives, different things going on. Yes, 16, cool. 18, register for the draft or join the military or get to vote or things of that nature. 21 years old. My grandparents ran a tavern, and that was the big thing. Someone turned 21, they could come in and drink. Well, the drinking age got rolled back. I am a man of a certain age. I got caught up in the from 21-year-old drinking age to let's move it to 19, let's move it back to 18 now, things like that. It has been a strange time, and now judges out there are looking at this prohibition against buying a handgun. For those who are between the ages of 18 and 21, you can buy a long gun when you're 18. 2 days after my 18th birthday, I bought my first firearm ever. It was a Ruger Deerslayer 44 Magnum little carbine. Yeah, you could buy a long gun when you're 18, but that prohibition against buying handguns was always there, was always in the way. You had to be 21. Now, this is coming up to the courts. They're discussing this. It's been set aside. Hey, wait a minute, this is unconstitutional, but it will be appealed. Where do you think this is going? You think it's making it all the way to the Supreme Court?
Well, the wild card in this is the one that I rarely hear talked about, which is people in the past have pushed for, look, man, just make it 21 for everything.
Right.
Now, I don't agree with that, but their rationale is, okay, look, you said we couldn't have an 18-year-old drinking age because you wanted to keep it out of the high schools. Whatever. Make everything 21. Let's have some consistency. Government's never going to let up on 18 to enlist, 17 with parental consent. They know that they need 17 and 18-year-olds to run a military. Yeah. So they're never going to say, yeah, you know what, you're right. Let's have everybody wait until they're 21 years old to enlist in the Army. That's never going to happen. Yeah, so they may be forced.
Sign your legal contract.
Right. They may, strictly from a national security standpoint, be forced to grit their teeth and say, yep, okay, 18 for a handgun then, because they're never giving up on making sure that they can have those recruiters in those high schools get those people to enlist when they're 17 or 18.
Yeah, and the patchwork of what you're allowed to do or what is legal for you to do between the ages of 17, 18, and 19 and 21, you're getting everything from can you be tried as an adult for your crimes? Are you responsible enough for your crimes to be tried as an adult? Can you enter into a legally binding contract at age 18, but you're not allowed to own a handgun or have a drink until you turn 21 because you need to be way more responsible before you do stuff like that? I don't know. It's a debate that you're right. It's never going to end because there's so much swirling around it. I'm wondering, as we go through this, are people going to claim that there will suddenly be a surge in crime or surge in accidental shootings or something like that if they allow someone who is 18 to legally buy a firearm? Because you've seen the crime stats. There's a bunch of people who are 17 to 24 out there, 17 to 21, committing crimes with guns that they acquired illegally. So are they thinking that if someone 18 legally acquires a gun, that gun is going to automatically be funneled into the illegal gun crime pipeline? I don't think we can make that argument. I don't think that argument holds water. We've said it before, and I don't know if it'll carry over. If you're old enough to join the military, you ought to be old enough to sit down at the bar and have a beer. Well, if you're old enough to carry an M4 and a sidearm while you're in the military, maybe you're old enough to buy a firearm. This will come back around to people say, well, those military guys, they got a lot of training. And we don't have a training requirement on 18 to 21-year-olds who are buying their first pistol. this debate is just going to go round and round in circles.
Well, when people say, well, if we drop it down to 18, all the criminals are going to go buy their guns in gun stores. Criminals don't buy their guns in gun stores. For the most part, they really don't.
Yeah.
So that's moot as far as I'm concerned. And it feels a lot more like this is one of those contexts in which opposition to handguns is more of a religious tenet than anything else. They know that most of the people who are shooting it out over drug dealing territory aren't filling out 4473s. They're stealing guns from vehicles. They're stealing guns from homes. This isn't going to make a difference. But what they like to call the optics of it, they hate they can't stand the idea of anyone being allowed to buy or sell a handgun to begin with. But they absolutely will not tolerate the idea of somebody on their 18th birthday going in and buying a handgun. They're going to do everything they can to prevent it.
Yeah, and I think they're looking at the wrong problem. Again, always, gun control is always looking at the wrong problem. They're not going to reduce crime or reduce the flow of illegal guns by demanding and doing house-to-house searches to make sure that you have every one of your guns in a safe. That's not going to be helpful, and it's going to create a police state in the United States if they try to do things like that.
It's funny you should mention that, because a lot of them would really enjoy doing that.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of anti-gunners who want you and I to show up at the police station every 90 days with our gun collection or whatever, or have cops come to our house and inspect our guns and make sure we have all the guns that we say we have.
That's exactly what they would like.
None of them are gone.
Make it enough of a pain that it's almost as if they don't want you having them at all.
Yeah, and really they're ready to trample or throw away the Fourth Amendment in order to get rid of the Second Amendment.
They never liked that one either.
And wow, it comes right down to that whole domino theory that we talked about before, that once the Second Amendment goes away, there's no need for those other pesky amendments. And the people who just want control, take away the word gun, they just want control, that's what they're going after. So yeah, this is going to be a tough, long, deep, hard slog, crazy debate about who gets to buy guns at what age.
Hey, before you go, let me ask you, are you breaking these gun laws without even knowing it? Get a free concealed carry map that reveals the gun laws in your state and the states you might be traveling to. Click the link in the description below to check it out.